This story happened Easter last year. I spent the long break in Puerto Galera with my cousins Jim and Karl, and friends Denise and Pia. Since we frequent the place, we already have a regular landlady who reserves a room for us in her apartel. We always request that second-floor room with a veranda fronting the beach. Jim knew that I have a sixth sense. He used to get scared every time I point out some things he could not see. I don't want to be referred to as a freak, so only a few know about this gift. On our second night in Puerto Galera, Karl, Denise, and Pia went out to check out some bars. Jim and I stayed inside our room since both of us don't drink, and we were tired from swimming the whole day. It was 2 a.m. when Denise and Pia came back together. I asked them where Karl was, but they said they lost him to his office mates in one of the bars they went to. An hour passed, and still no Karl turned up. We were becoming worried. We couldn't call him up since he left his cell in the room. At 3 a.m., the whole of Puerto Galera was already silent. As the oldest in the group, I was the one who asked permission from their parents for this trip. Karl was my responsibility. At around 4:30 a.m., someone pounded on the door. It was Karl, and he is very drunk. He was already crawling on the floor, and we were surprised how he managed to go back in our room. He was so drunk that he couldn't speak, and all he could do was moan. We tried to give him coffee, but he started to throw up. We carried him to his bed. After 20 minutes, he began to hyperventilate. His chest was heaving as he had difficulty breathing. We panicked, especially when we saw him turn blue. Denise went out to call our landlady for help. Even before the landlady reached our room, Karl stopped breathing. We were all crying. We couldn't believe what was happening. We tried to revive him through CPR, but he wouldn't breathe. Our landlady and her husband came. The landlady's husband said Karl was dead. He told her to call an ambulance. We were all shocked and crying. Then I saw them. They were standing behind Denise, who was then crying by the door. At first I thought that they were relatives of our landlady, but then I thought otherwise because they were wearing black suits and black ties. They had dark circles around their eyes and were staring at Karl's body. Our landlady's husband said he would be back and proceeded to the door. To my surprise, he walked through the body of the two men in suits. I asked Jim if he could see anyone by the door. He said no. I asked Denise to come inside and shut the door. She did. I told them what I saw and they got scared. Trying to keep a clear head, I remembered what I had read in a Wiccan book on how to ward off malevolent spirits. I tried visualizing that I had cast a bright blue circle inside the room. After making sure that we were somewhat inside it, I uttered a prayer asking that the two beings leave us alone. In my head, I could see the two men running up and down, not touching the ground. They were trying to get inside, but they couldn't. We heard soft thumps at the door, which only got us more scared. It was almost daybreak. As I finished visualizing the surrender of the two men, I got up and placed my ear on the door. I heard men's voices. They were whispering, but I couldn't clearly hear what they were talking about. I heard one of them say that they couldn't get through the door and claim the life of someone inside. Someone saw them somehow. He got the room protected. I knew then that they were talking about Karl and me. After several minutes of indecision, they agreed to leave the place and take someone else's soul instead. Shaken about what I had heard, I went straight to Karl's bed. Karl then swiftly sat up and coughed. He was gasping for air. We were astounded. Karl asked for a glass of water after bouts of coughing had eased. He was so parched that he drank about a liter of water. He started to breathe normally. The landlady and her husband were shocked. They knew that Karl was dead when they left him. He was dead for almost 20 minutes. He slept the whole day, saying he was tired. He couldn't remember what happened, but he did recall that someone gave him a small tablet. He took it without knowing that, mixed with alcohol, the drug could have been the end of him. Karl celebrated his birthday a week after the incident. He swears he will live his life to the fullest. I, on the other hand, still get scared remembering those men in suits. Do they really take souls? No one could really tell. One day you might see them yourselves.